G'day everyone and welcome back to the Big Bros podcast. My name is Jeremy and welcome if it's your first time joining us on the show. I'm joined by my lovely friend and co-host Ilan, but most importantly today we're joined by Anabolic Gabe, Gabriel Chenkov-Shaw. How you going, mate?
I'm very well. Beautiful Sunday morning here. Nice weather. No better place to be. So thanks for having me on.
No, mate. Thank you for coming on. And look, we've loved your content over the years, mate. We've loved what you've spoken about, obviously from a fitness perspective, which is where most people would probably know you from. But you're also an introspective guy, an introspective motherfucker. And that's the main reason why we wanted to get you on the show today, because I feel like, it's something that has come up a lot more recently in your content, a lot of reflection, whether it's about your solo travels, whether it's about body image, which is very important to talk about amongst us as men as well. So do you always feel like you have been an introspective person?
I love that word, introspection, but I think it started on like my first big travel experience, which was my exchange. And that's where I learned about like meditation and breathing techniques and just learning more about my thoughts inside my head and why I feel that way, and just exploring myself a little bit more. And I think the perfect place to do that is through like independent travel and being by yourself in another country and having all this freedom. So from there, it just became a bit of a habit, and I definitely credit a lot of that to like my current strong mental fortitude and resilience and being able to bounce back from things. And I probably am like a massive overthinker, but I just like always question the answers and always, why do I feel like this? And then that comes into like, why does my body feel like this? What kind of, is it, some sort of input there? So I just always like knowing the reasons behind things.
Did that used to manifest in different ways? Like when you would get those emotions when you're younger, like I'm talking back in your school days, because that's a pretty mature perspective, obviously. Were you more like rage mentality, or were you always like someone that would actually take a step back and think about your emotions and stuff then?
To be honest, I don't think my brain turned on properly until I was 25. Like everything before that was an absolute blur. And I actually revisited a lot of that stuff with my therapist, which was super interesting, like how I was raised and, my upbringing through school and why I was the way I was, and maybe how that's led to potential biases today. Like when I was a kid, I was just like dealt with things with my hands. I'd always get angry. I'd always wear my heart on my sleeve, and just like if I had an issue, I had no kind of diplomacy or no tactfulness to go through it. So I think I've only really started learning about that stuff like the last few years.
And do you think that was maybe one of the initial motivators to go to gym, was to kind of have that means of getting rid of excess energy, or almost like a therapeutic escape?
I don't think it was really that conscious, to be honest. I think I was always very physically driven, like played pretty high level soccer, and then I'd always, heart on my sleeve. If I didn't make a team or got a poor result or something, I'd always get really upset, and I felt like I was in control of, how fit I was, how technically good I was, and my performance. But if like the team let me down or something, I'd always like get frustrated. So I think that's why I was really interested in the gym and powerlifting and then bodybuilding, because you are directly responsible for the result and the output there. Like what you put in is what you get out. And I think I just much more enjoy that. Whereas I probably struggled in like team perspectives being that young, and it just wasn't really for me, I think.
Yeah, no, exactly. So, I mean, team perspectives, team sport is something we've spoken about on the show with guests in the past as well. And you've kind of got that limbo between always being your own boss on the field, essentially, if it's just you. And then, conversely, in a team environment, it's like you can fend from others. Do you think that maybe your background in sport, but then also the almost recognition that you are hard on yourself, you strive for greatness, that has then led to ultimately your success solo in business now?
I just made that link as well. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. It's like a therapy session here. But I think that's true. And I realized that in university when I was working in the office, great job, but I realized I can work as hard and be as creative as possible here, but I'm capped at the $25 an hour I was making. And I was always pretty entrepreneurial. I'd sell things on video games, or I was like a maths tutor earlier on, and I just always find a way to make $1. And I knew I had that like kind of creative, innovative spark in me, and I just knew there was things better out there for me. I could never picture myself working for somebody else. I just knew I wanted to create for myself, and I think that is largely driven by, that I couldn't really do the team sport thing. I needed to be responsible for my own keep.
Was there anything in childhood that kind of reinforced that message that you had to be responsible for your own keep or to do things independently?
Yeah, probably a number of aspects there, not to go too deep, but like a lot of financial trauma as a kid. So I think that led to me wanting to be really financially independent and not have to stress or worry about that. What else? I think probably just through academia and stuff as well. Like I was pretty socially inert kid, like not drinking until afterwards. I'd always be different, would never really conform to like going to the 18ths and drinking. Like I was weird. Like I've said it a million times, but I'd study in the study room at recess and lunchtime. And I think I thrived off of being different, and I knew like the work I put into my studies or my sport would result in me getting the awards and the high marks and where I wanted to end up, and that would somehow shut up all the social hierarchy and stuff. I wasn't very popular, so I thought I'd let that speak for myself, and obviously that's not healthy energy to go off, but I think that's what got everything going to begin with.
At the same time, when you were kind of 17, 18, going to that BCE system, and people having 18ths, you're being invited to kind of all these social rites of passages. How was it though, like kind of saying no to those things? Because it's very tempting to go and not miss out on those experiences.
I think I was just pretty cringe, to be honest. Like I just thought I was better than everyone because I wasn't drinking and I was putting in so much effort to things, and it was really toxic. So honestly, like I'm happy I did it, but I don't think it came from the best place to begin with.
And do you feel like, not to kind of jump the gun, but I was listening to a podcast the other week, which it's talking about toxic fuel. So for example, you go through a breakup, and one of the best motivators to get yourself in the best shape or to start that business is using that anger and resentment. But the thing is that fuel can become corrosive after time. It's great for the activation, for the launch pad, but after a while you want to find something a bit deeper within yourself. Do you find that maybe throughout the times in your life when you did start a new venture, or whether it was getting into the gym, you were running on maybe that little bit of toxic fuel, and then maybe it switched to something a bit more sustainable? Or
yeah, definitely.
What was that experience like?
I think like intrinsic motivation and actually having a reason that maybe aligns to like a core value or belief or something is always going to be way more sustainable than I'm doing this to prove that person wrong. So yeah, whilst it might be good in the short term, I think the way forward is always like, if you're, grinding gym content or a business or something because you're still trying to prove somebody wrong, like that's a terrible game to play. So yeah, I think you're bang on with that.
Yeah. Look, honestly, you've pretty much been doing things, like you said, yourself out on your own accord since those school days are up until now. So how almost is the balance of like knowing when to switch off? We spoke about it a little bit off air about, the phone usage and things like that, but you're always like onto something, mate. Like there's always something going on in your life, business wise, venture wise. Is there an off button?
No, I think it's a blessing and a curse. Like, to be honest, there isn't. And I'm working on it, but I always have an immense feeling of guilt whenever like I'm, doing something. And I think I'm getting better at it, but it's like if I'm going to like a birthday party or an event or something, I always feel a little bit guilty. But again, something I've been working on with my therapist is like actually being aware that the more balanced version of Gabe, when he's hanging out with friends and, doing social occasions or out in public and things, like my output is actually a lot better. Whereas if I'm too locked up in my room just grinding, I think it's a lot of work in the wrong direction. So I'm starting to recognize it is more important to just recharge and do a lot of those things. And, maybe there's ways to also integrate like my work with that as well. Like having a camera when I go to an event, or, like on the weekend, the big party where I broke the sober streak and got smashed for science, basically, like turning that into work.
Yeah, right. So almost incorporating those elements of productivity into social life, but not in that corrosive way, in a way that just almost feels comforting to you.
Yeah. And I don't know, like everyone talks about balance and stuff. I just think you'd want to find something where it doesn't feel like it's a chore.
Yeah.
So I think like I love making the YouTube videos and making the content, and like my screen time's probably pretty high, but that's because I'm posting Snapchat stories or responding to like messages from members of my team or other creators or stuff, because I actually really enjoy it. Like I don't feel like I hate it. And if I do, or I'm not enjoying it, like I check myself, I'm like, how can I, maybe delegate that or make sure that doesn't happen so it's more sustainable.
Have you experienced any burnout at all before?
I've definitely felt like overworked, but again, that's where like the good lifestyle factors, like I sleep just so well, like, yeah, all the hormones and blood panels are like, I feel like I'm able and lucky enough to work so hard during the day and really empty the tank and then recharge at night. So now I'm getting really into like, when I'm on, make that really conscious, really effective work. And, bit of a rise in cortisol, and you have that moderate level of stress to really push you. But like what come night time, it's like last meal at 6 p.m, fast after that, cut off any intake, watch the phones and bright lights and any sort of stimulants and stimulus, so then you can really recover and just have like the deepest sleep, so you're just ready to go like 6 a.m. the next day. So I think breaking those, that's probably my off time there. But then it's like that off time is also conducive to my work. So
Dude, with that off time then, are there like those, you mentioned some of the things that you kind of implement, but are there always those non-negotiables that you do? And if so, are you a little bit lax with them sometimes, or do you beat yourself up over them when they don't happen?
Yeah, I think I've got pretty positive self-talk. Like if I stuff something up, I'm never like, you idiot, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that's not really constructive. It's like, you've done that. Now, how do you improve for the future? And I think that's what the bodybuilding prep this year taught me, is not to negotiate with yourself. Is like, you give them an inch, they take a mile kind of thing. So it's like, if you let one thing go, it's like, then that just is reinforcing a mindset to let a few things go. So I'm not sure if you've got any examples of things that like throw at me I might be lax on.
Oh, mate, like, yeah, exactly. Nah, because people say, for example, like not eating anything after 6 o'clock, or the bright lights that you mentioned, and like, I mean, we know ourselves as well. Like when you got your mates, or we've got girlfriends as well. Like you have to have a little bit of that leeway sometimes. So do you think like in your life there is that leeway, or it's more just about getting those people around you that are pretty in tune with you like 90% of the time, and then that 10% you almost, you kind of have a little bit of that leeway?
Yeah, there definitely is like leeway and flexibility in there. I'll just try to do like the big things. Like I feel like it's not hard to not eat after 6. Like you have your structured meals there, and you're not snacking, eating rubbish after that. And it's kind of like I've done everything, and I know that's like the cutoff time. So I'm really not finding it too hard. In terms of like bright light, like I might watch a YouTube video before bed or something, like watch it on low brightness, or put like a red light filter on or something. But most of the time it's pretty easy. It's not like I've got some real temptation to go have an energy drink or something at 8 p.m. or really hype myself up, because I'm pretty aware like that's just going to cost you the next day. Yeah,
it's more just like it's just become like habit out of your life more than anything. You implement habits just like brushing your teeth, isn't it? So and with that, don't want to brush over it, but you mentioned obviously there the breaking the streak of no alcohol. That would have just been habit for you. So what essentially broke that streak for you? Why did you do it?
Yeah, well, initially it was for the bodybuilding competition. Like I didn't want to drink just for obvious reasons. And then 6 months, so that was 6 months there, and I was like, I don't feel like I'm really, like I really like this. I'm like, I don't just want to do it for the sake of it. Then it got to 1 year, because it was all like through winter and here, and it's like, it's kind of sad if you're just going out to, like, I just didn't really feel. And then I did a bunch of travel, and then I was with Kalani in America, who also doesn't really drink, and we're not just going to do that. We were there for business reasons, and I was through Europe, and I'm like, I may as well just make it a year here. Then it got to a year, and like there weren't really any good excuses. Then I was in like London with Liam Dowling, and like I was only there for the weeknight, so it's like, what are we going to go get smashed on a random Wednesday in London or something? And it's like, I don't know, I'd really wanted to do it properly. So then it came to like this, we were hosting like this big Halloween party, and I thought, this could be a really good thing, bring my videographer down, do the video justice, really plan it out. So currently in the editing process of that video. So that's what inspired it. It was like celebrate the kind of time off from the alcohol, and also make like a pretty valuable, hopefully impactful video from it too.
Yeah, I like that, how it was more a celebration rather than a failure that it ended. It's like, yeah. You know what? I'm actually going to celebrate that I did this thing rather than like feel like a piece of shit because I actually did that thing and now it's come to an end. So great way to look at it, I reckon.
Do you feel like you're going to go back to the sobriety though?
Yeah, just after it, I'm like, I'm so far from this version of myself I've built up over, that 400 days. I'm like, I don't really want it to be a mainstay. My girlfriend's probably, I know she's obviously very supportive, but she'd love to, be able to go to a restaurant and have a glass of wine or something. And I was like, always shutting that out. So maybe there'll be a few here and there, and I probably don't need to get absolutely smashed like I did on that day. But we'll see. I think there might be a little bit of integration, and the streak was never to prove anyone, I did this amount of days, look at me go. Yeah, it just happened to be that, and there was no time I wanted to really break it before that. So,
which there's so much of that happening right now, and it fucking grinds our gears. And we've spoken about it, like even a couple of weeks ago we had on a High Rocks athlete, and he's also been sober, and he's same thing. He's just like, mate, I just don't like how it makes me feel and makes me perform better. Simple as that. But cannot stand the blokes on the internet that are like, you are a piece of shit because you drink, lock in and stop drinking.
Yeah, lock-in culture is really doing our head in, to be honest, because it really just feels like the motivation's never intrinsic. And I know we kind of touched on it before. It just feels like it's very it's done to please others perhaps, or to show everyone how cool they are, but it's never come from a place like of self-love. It's very much just done to kind of show everyone else how impressive they are. But yeah.
I feel like that's with anything that you're trying to push your belief on others, it gets pretty insufferable, and people are always going to believe what they believe in and have their own kind of preconceived conceptions of things. And so whether it's like politics or lifestyle habits or religion, it's just respect that people have different kind of perspectives on things and leave it at that. Like, you can put the information out there, but don't try to force it down people's throats.
And I think just leading by example as well. Like, you're more likely to attract an audience when you're doing it, not trying to shove anyone else down in the process, and just showing everyone like the benefits you've noticed. And I suppose people have probably kind of reached out to you and told you as well about their own kind of sobriety streaks and what's happened. Like, it's probably one of the best ways. I'm curious to know though, like, we've never spoken to a bodybuilder before, not anyone who's done like an active prep or training. And something I always think about is, because you probably have not you specifically, but maybe just the general population who do bodybuilding comps, that experience of it's never enough, never lean enough. Did you have that sort of experience when cutting?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I would look at myself in the mirror and think, I'm just looking worse and worse here. And then I'd look, like, I remember, for example, like I did a whole bunch of content at like a music festival when I was like all pretty much stage ready, and I thought I looked like absolute rubbish, and I look back and I'm like, I look like a genuine god. I'm like, how is that even me? It's just when you're in that stage of your head's just always playing tricks on you. Like, my physique was absolutely ridiculous, like, and then looking back on that, I'm like, at the time I just couldn't even recognize that.
So how did you manage it?
I don't think I did manage it. It's something I went through and just got through, to be honest. And I think hopefully next time round I'll be more aware and be able to do it mentally. I mean, mentally I was just like getting it done. I don't think I really struggled mentally. It was more the after of all the binging and not really knowing how to reverse out of it and the implications to my body.
So that was the harder part for you, actually, the binging afterwards rather than the cutting before being stage lean.
I think I work really well when I have goals and deadlines, and then when that's not there. And I mean, I had all the coaches and the structures around me and my meal plan for after it. I just didn't give a shit because I didn't have a goal. Yeah. And like, the pantry was downstairs and we had an endless supply of junk food, and I would literally through the middle of the night eat whatever, and people would be like, oh, you deserve it, blah, blah, blah. I'm 0 100. I take things too far. I get obsessive. Yeah. And I was just trying to try every single piece of junk food in the world, and that's literally the worst time to do it. I would have done a whole lot of damage to my body, and it was uncontrollable. It was like I was literally possessed. So yeah, pretty scary. And I think it just happened. And now I know I was paying for it for like 6 months basically.
Wow.
And now I know it's never worth it. I think someone commented on a YouTube video basically saying a good way to deal with it is you don't celebrate milestones with sabotage. So I think it's obvious, but I think that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, wow.
Because the thing, something I've always thought about when it comes to like bodybuilding, you're getting yourself to such a kind of, as you said, like a god level physique, but there's obviously a real consequence that comes with that. For you, have you found like your healthy middle ground in terms of where not only you look good, but you feel good too?
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment. And that's definitely where I have, since the bodybuilding prep, I've put a large emphasis on like where I'm actually getting the food from. So not just overall macros and things, but, you know, not stuff that's full of chemicals and preservatives and is well sourced and very bioavailable, and a large emphasis on gut health now. And I think that's really nourished my hormones, and I think that's where I am at the moment. And all the meals are structured but got like really good ingredients, and there's more of a nuanced approach than just this is your protein intake, this is your calories. Like there's so much more than that. And like now I'm like, what are these gym people actually like promoting, like all these sweeteners and just protein rich things that are just like literally shouldn't really be considered food.
Is that something that you've actually like almost you feel, for lack of better words, matured up in a way of you know, seeing those protein type of things, like, you know, the protein cookies and the protein bars constantly, you know, and that might have been something that was maybe one day promoted, but now you look at it completely differently?
Yeah, I think this year I've just learned so much, just been so in tune with my body and understanding how different things impact my body, where it's inflammation and you look a little bit, you're holding on to more water, or your face is a bit more puffy, and that is so largely dependent on what you're putting into your body. For example, I've given these guys a few examples and they're no hate to them. Like they sent me all this stuff down for free. But for example, the Fro Pro stuff, which you can find anywhere. Again, I like them, good people, but they're just not for me. I'd be on such a really specific meal plan for my bodybuilding prep, no meal swaps, but sometimes they'd send stuff down and be like, calories and macros kind of the same. But then there's like 58 different preservatives on there, and I'd wake up the next morning, I'd be like 1.5 kilos heavier, holding onto all this water and hella bloated. It's because, for my body at least, I don't know how it responds to other people, but yeah, just I find when I'm eating highly processed preservative stuff that isn't whole foods, it just doesn't really go well for my body, and I don't look the best. My face is more puffy, and that affects you mentally, and yeah, I just really don't rate it.
Will you avoid protein bars now then, or protein shakes?
Yeah, so I was traveling quite a lot this year, and I was having like 4 protein bars a day, like the barbells or the grenades, and yeah, I know they're like a bomb going off in your gut microbiome. And to be honest, I think I had done so much work for my gut and insides before that I probably didn't. And it's not like I'm drinking and doing all sorts of other stuff that's just demolishing any sort of, like that was the worst of the worst I was doing. And my skin may have been a little bit here and there, but it wasn't so bad. But generally I do try to avoid that stuff. But if I really am desperately in need of protein or something, like it's not the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I call them emergency protein bars. It's something that I always pack in the luggage as well for a holiday. It's like an emergency protein bar. If you're down on Pro-E for the day, can rely on them then, and it's not that bad.
I was once speaking to a mate who had a flight from Melbourne to LA, and he ate like 10 Quest bars, or the old school like protein bars, and safe to say he was running to the lavatory quite often. So, and the people around him didn't really appreciate what was happening in that vicinity. But
what's funny now is all this new literature is coming out saying that this traditionally high level of protein bodybuilders advise for is just, there's no data that supports it's actually more effective and leads to more progress. So people are going down to as low as like 1.2 grams of protein per pound or per kilo of body. So just basically half of what people are going, like 200 grams and above.
Yeah.
But for me, for like an 85 kilo male, like the advice now is like 120 to 130, which means you have so much other room in your nutrition for like good carbs and fats in there, like obviously fats for your hormone regulation and all sorts of other benefits, and carbs to aid like good training and make your glycogen stores brimming. So that's just so much more flexibility in there. So yeah.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on calorie tracking, because there might be a lot of people out there who might be at risk of developing like a disordered eating pattern, and they might just feel like they're good intuitive eaters, but then at the same time it's a double-edged sword, because maybe they're not getting the body they want because perhaps they're overestimating how many calories or macro and micronutrients there are in a certain thing. How do you approach that topic with someone if they've kind of ever asked you what to do in that space?
Yeah, I'd say the overarching goal should be just to eat like good, healthy whole foods. From there, if you want to go more specific, then you can track the more numbers approached as well and say, okay, if I'm eating this food, because if you are eating all the healthy, well-sourced whole food stuff, it's hard to go wrong unless you're just dousing everything in olive oil and nut butters and really calorie-dense things. If you're struggling with that, then you can start looking on like a more casual approach, or how's my portion control here? Am I using sauces and dressings and oils and nuts on everything? Can I cut a few of those things out? It doesn't have to be so hectic, everything. I've seen those like rage bait videos where it's like people taking out one blueberry because like as if that's going to make or break it. It's like that's kind of rage bait, to be honest. So I'd say doesn't hurt to try. You can start small. You don't have to go hectic with everything, but it is good to just be conscious of the rough numbers. And there are people who deny calories, but it's like it is just thermogenesis at the end of the day. What you go in is like that's how much you're going to be weighing.
Yeah. Now, body image, dysmorphia, things that you've been talking on a little bit here and more recently on your platform. Big topic amongst everyone, but you know, we see a rise in it, especially amongst men. It's probably not spoken enough about amongst men, and you made some sick videos about that and putting out some good work for that. Do you have a bit of a passion about talking about these things more now, and why?
I think, yeah, obviously my experience with the bodybuilding prep and probably being introspective as well. It's like, why am I going through these things and trying to understand why? And then it's like, I've looked better than ever, but I feel worse than ever. So understanding like how hormones go into play. And I just found there was a complete underwhelming amount of content, particularly in the male domain for this. And I'm like, well, like this is something I feel passionate about and want to talk about. I don't care if like people think it's a bit weird. But then I started posting it, got a tremendous amount of support, both from males and females. And it was both a mix of me actually being interested in the topic, and my therapist is actually someone who specializes in eating disorders. So it was really interesting to understand my relationship with food with her. And then trickling a little bit of that down into my content, and apparently it's helped so many people. So I always get messages and comments on it and people wanting more and more on it, because I think it's just something blokes struggle with, but they're not aware. And then my content said, oh yeah, I actually do eat like absolute shit and can't control myself on a weekend or weeknight when I'm snacking at midnight. Like I actually do have an issue with this, and you kind of brought it to light, and I really appreciate you talking about it.
Yeah, bloody oath. And do you have people spamming, honestly, DMs about their own bodies, how they feel, and what do you do in that situation? Because at times you probably feel like you need to go in a bit more of a therapy type of mode as well. So how do you balance that, like in terms of navigating all of those DMs and messages from people saying, this is my story, what do I do?
Yeah, it's really hard for me to help people on like that one-on-one basis when I'm just getting so many DMs, and it just becomes a point where like you can't do it. It's like, obviously I can't be on my phone too much, otherwise I'm going to hate my life and just be the worst version of myself. So it sucks that people have these issues, but I don't really have the capacity to help them so much. So I do focus on those higher leverage things where it's more one to many. So my YouTube videos that I spend so long developing and planning out and trying to make them as valuable as possible. And it's like, I can't help everyone's individual situation there. That's where you need to be seeing things like therapists or specialists in that domain. And to be honest, if you are expecting like some guy on Instagram to help you with all these specific issues, like that is like, you'd be paying a consultant big bucks to be dealing with that stuff. So it is a little bit of reality in there, but I think most people are aware of that as well. And I'm sorry if you have messaged me and I haven't gotten back to you. It's just, a little bit overwhelming. Maybe I need to hire someone who's a second Gab and just answers all my DMs.
And plays chess as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious to know, for in kind of your own history, was there ever one moment you can recall where you were like, I don't like my relationship with food at this moment?
Like a day specifically?
Day, moment, maybe when you were even overseas traveling, because I suppose when you're overseas, it's a different mindset. Maybe you're on holiday, but you still want to maintain a routine.
That's the thing. I'd never do it and then hate myself after it. I'd always be like so dopamine rush. I'd be like, this is awesome. But then I'd always be, again, it's that positive self-talk. It's like, how do we move from here? I'm not going to like really hate myself over what I've done. It's like, well, you've done it. Like, practically, how do we bounce out of this? But then it also made me realize, the more and more I discovered about it, is I think even from a young age, before bodybuilding, I'd always have these binge tendencies. Like coming home from school, I'd hop on Xbox, I'd go to the shops and go get a massive block of chocolate, a packet of Starburst lollies, a Mountain Dew, and like salt and vinegar chips, and I'd just eat all that while playing like COD Zombies or something, and wouldn't put on any weight because I was playing so much soccer.
Yeah.
But I was used to just eating myself sick. And then, when you have to be a bit more careful with what you eat when you're doing things like competitions and stuff, I think I'd always have that desire to, maybe it's because when you're younger, you're so impressionable and you're used to those habits. I'd always have like real pig out sessions and just love eating food. It's like my drug of choice is literally just food. I love just eating so much of it. So I think that's when it started costing me in such vulnerable times, like post bodybuilding competition, where you do need to be really careful to reverse. Like that's where you kind of get found out a bit more.
Yeah. Would you say you and your girlfriend are big foodies now and have a mad list of good restaurants you guys go to?
Yeah, well, she loves food as well, but I've just now made it clear to her, like fitness is my job, and as much as it might not be good, how I look is how I make money. So pick our moments. And then also what I've taught myself is like, don't go overboard. She's good with not going overboard. I'm not. I've got no self-control when it comes to food. So it's just something I'm learning. And yeah, we might go to a nice restaurant and I don't have to, first after the comp, she was like waiting for so long for me to take her out to dinner.
Yeah.
I think I spent $400 on dinner with no alcohol, just on food.
That's mad.
And it was mainly her just watching me eat.
Which restaurant?
I think it was like Bar Carolina in South Yarra.
Oh, lovely.
Nice.
And then I wasn't done there. Then I got like a massive Yochi, and then I went and got like more, dude, I could eat so much.
Yeah, you got to go all that. Yeah, no, now it's fair enough. With, I guess, we've spoken a lot about food, your background in sport and business, and people know your love for travel as well. What do you reckon are things, or maybe that one thing where you might feel a little bit almost as if people don't understand about you? Do you feel a bit misunderstood about? Is there one thing maybe you feel a bit misunderstood about where you're like, yep, I'm actually this way and not that way?
I feel like there's some people who are really enthused in the anabolic law and just know everything, but there's probably more the face value watcher of my content who will probably think I'm just a big dumb meathead. Or like some people have seen, like I went to a private school as a kid or have like a decent life for myself now, and they'll just like accredit that to rich parents or something. And it's like, in reality, like parents immigrated from Russia with no money and like had to go on payment plans to send me through school and sacrificed everything for my education. And every day I'd come home from school with mum telling me, we need to sell the house, we got to pull you out of private school. And like, that was me. Like, I remember I was in like grade 6, just moved to a private school, and I was like calculated how much it cost per day to go to school. I'm like, I have not extracted $209 worth of value out of school today, like for a bloody 12-year-old. So I think people misunderstand that a lot as well. And it's, I don't know, I guess that's a bit of a thing in my head. It's like, I hate when people just like accredit something to, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but they're like, oh yeah, he's all good because he's got rich parents. Like, went to a private school, he's rich. No, we didn't have to worry about him. So I don't know, there's just a little bit of that, but now I don't even care about it. If you want to accredit that to that, like that was more in the past, but now I'm just like, I don't really care.
Yeah. What's your response to that? Is it just like,
I'm
No
like, yeah, bro,
response?
sucks to suck. Whatever, believe what you want to believe.
Well, you just can't give a shit about what everyone else says ultimately. And, more people are concerned about downgrading someone else than raising themselves up, because it's easier to do that, of course. I remember once you mentioned that for people going into business, it might not be advisable doing it with a close friend of theirs. And then going solo as well as a challenge in and of itself. What are some of the things that people don't see in terms of the business grind that is often glamorized online?
Yeah, well, in regards to that experience, like I feel like, again, Canon event, like wouldn't trade it for the world. Like at 21 or 22, I was learning how to buy out my best mate for like, amounts of money we'd never even would have considered. And the amount you learn through that is like, that's crazy. Like at the time it sucks, but like looking back on it, it's like, wow, we learned that. And so in terms of the glamour, it's like, you can't be casual with it. If you want success, like not being a casual, and maybe that balance thing doesn't really exist. So you can't really switch your brain off when you leave work. For me, it's just the person I am. I'm obsessive. I'm always thinking about things. So, and maybe that might not be the way to go about things, but at least that's for me, is not really having balance. But that's why I'm trying to love it in every aspect, so it doesn't feel so much like work.
Yeah.
But again, I'm so like, there's no rule book to this, and I'm still trying to learn so much about it. So I don't know if I'm even like an expert in it by any means. But it's a whole lot more work than you think. And there's no, like, I've been working all of yesterday and all of this morning on a Saturday and Sunday, but it's because I love it and I want to make stuff happen.
I was going to say, you're probably going to say no to this next question, but do you ever wish you weren't as obsessive?
No, I think Jordan Peterson or something has an interesting perspective. Like, it's like knowledge is pain, but it's like, what's the alternative? Just to ignore it? It's like, once you're in, you're in. It's like, now you need to learn how to deal with it. So no, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And it's
ultimate acceptance, ultimately. So yeah, no, I think that is the pure ingredient.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're launching another venture for yourself now, mate. So congratulations on that. Talk to us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you guys have seen on social media, like every man and his dog who's ever run a calorie deficit is now offering coaching. And I would always get offered or like questioned for the last 1 to 2 years, like at least 10 messages a day, being either, do you do coaching? Can I get coached by you? Or someone being like, can I be an appointment setter or a closer? Or can I help you scale this? And it's just the wild west out there in the DMs. Yeah. It's so weird. And nothing turned me off more than that. I'm like, the bar is literally on the floor, like completely just unqualified. Like, I feel like I've learned so much experience now in everything I've gone through, and even I wouldn't be going into coaching because I feel like I wouldn't be happy with the service I provide yet. But I also understood like there was this great desire for people wanting me to coach them. But just a gap there that wasn't really been met. So I'd just always be thinking about it. And yeah, most of this year I kind of took the focus off of trying to make as much money as possible, and just whether it's brand deals or short-term releases and things, I knew like I wanted to build something special if I did do it. And that's where Kalani and I, one of my best friends in the industry, we were definitely like business friends first, and then became such close friends as we realized we're on the same wavelength and share similar values and genuinely want the best for each other and just enjoy being around each other. We had the idea I think Kalani actually said it to me one time. We were in the Gold Coast and he's like, we could do like a joint coaching thing. I'm like, I've never heard of anyone doing that, to be honest. And I'm like, imagine that, like two big names in the Australian fitness scene, especially for males, like just combining forces. I feel like that could be the ultimate. And then since then, we've always just been chipping away at the way we want some message to be conveyed, or some aspect of branding, or the systems in the back end, or people we could bring in to make it better. So it's been a long time coming. And like from there, I was like genuinely really excited and really proud. And like, it's always been like, yes, we could really do well financially from it, but it's like, that can never be focus number one. We want it to be like, just blow everyone out of the water with how like comprehensive and thorough and just high quality everything is. We want it to be like people going, oh wow, they're doing coaching, like I'll actually do that. And then when they're in, they never want to leave, because it's just the best. So obviously we have particular ideologies with training and nutrition. I'm very much tapped into the literature and getting the most out of your body with the least amount of inputs, which I think a lot of people are interested in. And then I'm pretty... I'd like to think I know a whole lot of different approaches when it comes to nutrition and gone through a lot of experience with myself, but also, as you know, like the mental health side, and that's going to be really key in what we offer as well, which is hard to put into like it's hard to verbalize that, but there will be a great emphasis on that as well.
Wow.
And also the fact that you get both of us, so it's not just you manage by one or the other, it's like both of us. We have the weekly calls, and there'll be a great like emphasis on community with there'll be a big public server where everyone can go in, but then sectioned off things for clients as well. And like weekly calls with us. And yeah, we want it to be like person that wins this challenge, we fly out, you can work out with both of us and have like our, like the brands that we work with involved as well. And just giving a whole lot of value. We want it to be like the best.
And to clarify, is it a joint business venture with yourself and Kalani? I'm curious, did you have any kind of reservations going into a joint business venture?
Yeah, I think the big one is just clearly defining who does what. And what's actually been good is I've never done coaching before, but Kalani has. So he brings so much value to the table, and his social media presence is bigger than me. So we'll see how it goes. But I think given the fact we've both been working on it for the whole year, spent 5 weeks in America together, shooting content, being in the same room, somehow not getting on each other's nerves. And I don't know, I think he could be the man to make it happen, make this a really good partnership. And what's really funny, it's quite interesting, is the last ever episode of the 9 to 5 Fitness podcast had Kalani on it. Wow. And it was me interviewing Kalani and another guy, Hamish. And who knows whether we bring a podcast out together, the both of us, but it's kind of come full circle now. And that was like 2.5 years ago, that. And I think this friendship is slowly like chipped away, and now it's here, so we'll see.
I think it helps because the similar values is ultimately the biggest thing, and understanding each other's. It's like a relationship, really. You need to understand one another's flaws and knowing how to manage those things together. So
defining those roles is that like the key thing you reckon is maybe the difference of Gab, the entrepreneur now versus as a 20-year-old, is like defining those roles more clearly?
Yeah. Well, when I went into my first business, I didn't know jack from shit. But now, like, I could make a business in 2 days if I wanted to, because I know everything what to do and the right resources to pull in.
Yeah.
So it has been much more efficient. And then Kalani's obviously got the specialist knowledge about how to run like a killer coaching business from the back end. So he's been so good with that. Whereas I've been more working with the web developer and then passing all that through and then writing the copy and helping with the socials and all of that type of thing.
Fuck yeah.
So it hasn't been so much like you do this, I do that. It's just kind of, we know what we need to do and we're both working.
Yeah, epic. Now, mate, before we wrap up the show, the listeners and viewers of our show might recognize occasionally on our Instagram stories when we do have a guest on, we present them with a muffin as a bit of a take-home sweet treat. Which,
baked by yours truly's mother.
By my mum. She's great. She loves
She
loves to bake up some fresh goods. So so as part of that, we thought, you know what? Why don't we make a little bit of a segment out of it? So this segment we're calling the sweet spot. So to finish off the show, we're going to ask you, mate, as part of the sweet spot, to then gift you the muffin afterwards, what is a funny moment, a good story, something that you can talk to us about from a moment in your 20s specifically?
20s. Wow, there's so much. I'm trying to think. You might have to like prompt me with something. There's just...
Yeah, there would be a lot. Maybe
anything that's giving you those fuzzies in the stomach, you know, like a wholesome, sweet moment that you can just think of and be like, this is why I do what I do.
Honestly, this is so far out. Sweet moment. I'm really going to have to think here. Like, there's honestly so many things, but I'm just not sure which path to go down.
Yeah. You can take multiple if you want.
Any more kind of stimulus you can give me? Or
let's go.
Lead me in some sort of direction.
Yeah. All right. What can we do?
What about let's go towards more so, how about more so like travel? Is there maybe a funny moment or a sweet moment or a moment where you're looking around and you're like, this is fucking sick. Like this is fucking sick moment.
Sorry. Honestly, I think just like the best times was been with Kalani in America, and like got to LA off the flight, left like cold, rainy Sydney, Melbourne, and like got off the flight at LAX and then picked up like our convertible BMW straight away, and it's sunny there, and they just handed us the keys, and then we're driving through like some sketchy ass neighborhoods to get to our thing, and we're like, it's like we're literally in GTA right now. We'd just be the top down, just blasting like all these old school 2012 Callum Von Moger like EDM SoundCloud tunes, and just having the best time of our lives. And like we look back on that and we're like, we want to make that our life. We want to be able to have the resources to make that a reality. Like, not that material things are the most important thing, but geez, having enough money to be able to travel whenever you want and make that work and have a nice car and some nice weather. There's something about that, and with good people around you, like, I don't know, I look back on that and I'm like, geez, those are some of the best times ever this year.
It's a pretty good answer, man.
Mate,
I think you've earned the muffin.
I think that's the sweet spot right there. I think that sums it up well.
Yeah.
And so well done.
Yeah.
Gab, before we finish up, where's the best place that people can find you?
Best place, if you're a real one, you watch my weekly YouTube videos every Thursday, 6 p.m. Uploaded every single week this year. We put a lot of effort into those videos. Otherwise, Snapchat stories, post every day on there. And if you don't give as much of a shit, then probably Instagram. Just follow me on there.
Awesome. And we'll attach all your contact information, but I'm sure people have no issues finding you. Gab, thanks so much for joining the Big Bros podcast.
Thank you very much. It's been awesome.